What is going on, guys? Zuko back with another Dragonflight video. We are looking at patch 10.0.7 again today. The reset just happened for me like yesterday, Tuesday, and they added a whole bunch of stuff to the PTR. And the biggest thing that they added was the Paladin talent trees, in particular the Retribution one, which has been completely redesigned. And we're going to get to that in a different video. What I actually want to talk about today is just the class side of the tree that has some massive changes coming down. And we'll get to all the changes for Ret and Prot and Holy in the coming days and in different videos. But for now, let's talk today just about the upcoming changes to the Paladin class tree, because they're very important. They're really big. And remember, Blizzard's kind of been revamping some of the Paladin stuff. They promised for Ret Paladin in particular more survivability, more mobility, more defensive, some healing, some self-sustain. And some of that stuff has actually come through on the class side, which is essentially buffing all three specs, which is really cool. We're going to talk about that in a minute. There's changes to Avenging Wrath. There's changes to Dusk and Dawn. There's changes to Divine Toll being here now. Sanctified Wrath and Seraphim aren't here anymore. That's a spoiler, but we're going to get into all of it in this video, so buckle up and let's just dive right in. The first thing I want to talk about is some of the smaller changes on the class tree. Okay, so let's just look at that. Some really cool ones coming through here. Number one, Crusader's Reprieve. Your Crusader Strike and auto attack range goes up by 3 yards, so quality of life there. And then using Crusader Strike heals you for 2% of your maximum health, which is no joke. That's a really, really big deal. You press that a lot over the course of a fight on all three specs. I mean, for Holy Paladin, it's how you generate Holy Power, one of the main ways, right? So you're going to be healing for 2%. If you go Prot Paladin and end up taking Blessed Hammer, which is actually on the Ret Paladin tree now as well, if you take Blessed Hammer, you get 3 charges, and every time you press one of these suckers, you heal yourself. So for Prot Paladin in particular, I think this is an additional way to heal yourself for 2% of your maximum health. It's really no joke. Like right now, my Prot Paladin has like 500,000 health. So 2% of 500,000 ends up being quite a bit of health. I don't know the math off the top of my head, but you get the idea. Over the course of a long fight, it's going to add up. Really cool. This is another heal here. Divine Storm heals you and up to, I believe it's going to be 5 allies for 5% of their maximum health. That's kind of insane. Now, this says just Divine Storm right now. It doesn't say any other ability, but it's on the class side of the tree. So I was on the PTR last night with like 10 other paladins for like a couple hours, just shooting the shit and talking about all the changes that are coming through. Very exciting. It was a really good time. A lot of us are speculating that this Light Forge Blessing will say Divine Storm or Shield of the Righteous heals up to a certain number of allies for 5%, because Shield of the Righteous would make the most sense. Prot Paladin uses it, and Holy Paladin can use it as an AoE Holy Power spender, just like Divine Storm is an AoE spender, right? So they would all do it would all cost the same. And for Holy Paladin in particular, it would be a really good sort of tension, right? Because spending 3 Holy Power on Shield of the Righteous for Holy Paladin is a lot to give up. You're not healing anybody. You're just doing some AoE damage, giving yourself some armor. It's not the best spell to use, but this might incentivize you to use Shield of the Righteous more as an offensive tool, but then it would also start healing everybody as well. So I'm pretty sure that this is going to say Divine Storm and Shield of the Righteous in the final build. Just remember, guys, this is the PTR, so it's all subject to change, and this definitely looks like it should say something other than just Divine Storm. So that's kind of cool. Faith's armor is really good. Word of Glory gives you 20%, grants 20% bonus armor for 4.5 seconds. So this is on the Ret side of things. If you switch over to Prot, this actually ends up saying Shield of the Righteous gives you 20% bonus armor, which is massive. That's a massive deal, because you're pressing Shield of the Righteous all the time in any content that you're playing as a Prot Paladin. So now you're going to get 20% bonus armor. That's crazy. That's actually a lot of bonus armor for Prot Paladin. So that's a huge new node right there, in my opinion. Update right here. Actually, no, let's go over here quick. Sanctified Plays. This is probably one of the biggest changes to the class tree. There's actually a bunch of them, but this is insane. Armor increased by 20%, stamina by 10%, damage taken from area effects reduced. So 10% avoidance. Literally 20% armor, 10% stam, 10% avoidance from one talent. Absolutely crazy. This is like a mandatory must-take talent now. Very strong. Very, very strong right here. Sanctified plates. A quick one here. Seal of Alacrity. Haste increased by 4% and Judgment's cooldown goes down by 1 second. Very important actually for Prop Paladin. It's okay for Ret, because now my Ret Paladin is 9.8 seconds. If we switch to Prot really quickly, you can see that the cooldown of Judgment is already much lower. It's about 5.8 seconds, I believe. 5 seconds, you can see right here. So this is really giving me, it's giving me 1 second on the cooldown of Judgment. That is more significant for Prop Paladin because it's already quite low. So instead of it being 6 seconds, it's 5 seconds. That's a really good deal there. So, yeah, massive. And then here you can see Faith's armor. Shield of the Righteous gives you more armor. Yada, 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 as I said before. So, nice little bonus there. Haste by 4%. It used to just say haste by 4%. Now it also gives you 1 second off Judgment. Actually a pretty big deal, in my opinion. Okay. Let's keep moving on. There's a couple more. Actually, I think there's no more like little changes. I'm gonna get into the big changes now on the class side of the tree. Oh, Zuko's falling over there. I want you to look at something here. Avenging Wrath is a 2-minute cooldown, right? Right? Avenging Wrath is a 2-minute cooldown, right? We all know that Avenging Wrath couldn't be anything other than a 2-minute cooldown, right? Oh my God, it's a 1-minute cooldown now. So. Nobody noticed this last night on the PTR. We were all running around having fun talking about this stuff, and then somebody suddenly in the chat down on the bottom here was like, guys, I think Avenging Wrath is a 1-minute cooldown. And everybody was like, no, it's not. You're insane. And then everybody switched and they were like, oh, it is a 1-minute cooldown. Holy crap. So this is really cool. Very quickly, just for Ret Paladin, I'll talk about this in the Ret Paladin video, but Avenging Wrath, if you take Avenging Wrath Might in the spec side, it keeps Avenging Wrath at a 1-minute cooldown. If you take Crusade, it becomes a 2-minute cooldown. You can see it in the tooltip right there. For Ret Paladin, you can either have a 20-second duration, 1-minute Avenging Wrath, which gives you 20% damage and healing and 20% crit. So that's a 1-minute, 20-second duration. Or you can have a 2-minute, 35-second duration. They've made Crusade a 35-second duration now. So this is the big trade-off here. Now, for Prop Paladin and for Holy Paladin, it is still a 2-minute baseline Avenging Wrath. Only Ret gets the 1-minute Avenging Wrath. But I just thought it was worth mentioning. This is really insane. This is a massive change for Ret Paladin. It's very, very cool. Okay? So just keep that in mind. The other biggest change, I would argue, on the class tree is Divine Toll is now moved over from the spec side into the class side. So Divine Toll and its buffs, Divine Resonance or Invocation, are on the class side now. So you can take them here. The biggest thing that this does for everybody is free up 2 talent points from the spec side of the tree. And if you look at, you know, let's say Protection, it means that you can put those points into something else. So what did you lose on the class side? You lose Sanctified Wrath and you lose Seraphim. Now, I will report to all of you that Seraphim is just gone. It's just straight up gone from all 3 Paladin specs. You cannot get Seraphim anymore, period, which is kind of wild that they did that. I'm happy that they did that because I hated Seraphim with a passion, but it's gone now. Okay, now, where's Sanctified Wrath? Well, this is the wrong icon here, but you can see this says Sanctified Wrath. It is on the Prot tree and the Holy tree. It's not on the Ret tree at all. So, but it is over here. You can get the extra 5-second duration, which means it goes to 25 seconds, and Judgment generates an additional Holy power. Boom, that's great. So we know that. If I go to Holy really quick, Holy actually gets a really cool bonus here. I'm just going to say it really quickly. So again, they can pick up Divine Toll over here, which arguably is it's mandatory, I would say, on Holy Paladin. It's not as mandatory, I don't think, to get Divine Toll for Prop Paladin or for Ret Paladin on single target fights. So if you're doing a single target raid fight, Divine Toll for Prop Paladin, let's say, is actually pretty bad. It's not necessarily mandatory. So that means on the class side of things, Prop Paladin in a single target raid fight could now pick up something else. You could dump Divine Toll and you'd have 2 points to plug somewhere else, which I think is kind of interesting. But Holy Paladin, I think, always has to take it because you get to cast it on allies, right? 5 Holy Shocks on allies is always going to be good. So anyway, I just wanted a little side note there. Here's Sanctified Wrath for Holy Paladin. Again, the 25-second duration, the Holy Shock cooldown is the same. It leads into Glimmer of Light now, which is interesting. But now you have one. I had 1 extra point when I redid this tree. I had 1 extra point to put in somewhere. But this is interesting. Holy Paladin can now take regular Avenging Wrath, which is, again, is a 2-minute cooldown. They get Sanctified Wrath over here, and they can pick up Might. So they can get the 20% crit and the 25-second duration with the Holy Shock buff and the baseline 20% damage, 20% healing. So Holy gets the biggest bonus here, in my opinion. They could also take, obviously, Sanctify Wrath with the baseline ability and then convert it into Avenging Crusader, whatever you want to do. But just know that this is what's happening. You're getting Divine Toll on the class side, and then Prot and Holy are getting Sanctified Wrath. Ret is getting the 1-minute Avenging Wrath or the 2-minute Crusade. It's kind of up to you what you want to do with that. But Ret is not getting Sanctify Wrath anymore. So you don't get the explosions. Remember, Ret used to explode every time you used Holy Powers. You don't get that anymore. But, again, you do get Divine Toll baseline on the class side here. Very, very good stuff. Okay? Last thing I want to talk about here is going to be Dusk and Dawn. Let me go back to Ret here really quickly. Last point I want to make. Dusk and Dawn has changed completely. Like 100%, it's completely changed. So it used to say when you reached 5 Holy Power, when you built 5 Holy Power, you would trigger Dawn. When you got to 0 Holy Power, you would trigger Dusk. Here's what it says now. When you cast 3 Holy Power generating abilities, you gain Blessing of Dawn. When you consume Blessing of Dawn, you get Blessing of Dusk. So, Blessing of Dawn, once you trigger Blessing of Dawn, it says your next Holy Power spender deals 30% more damage or healing. And this affects stacks. So, let me show you this really quickly. I'm going to use 3 Holy Power generators. So, let's go Judgment. Judgment. Yes, Judgment hits multiple enemies now. And then Blade of Wrath. So, now I have Dawn. You can see Dawn is rolling here. Now I can consume Dawn. I'm going to press my Divine Storm. Boom. Now I've gotten Dusk, okay? Dusk reduces my damage taken by 5% now instead of 3%. So it's buffed. So we get 5% DR basically all the time now as any version of Paladin, which is insane. Absolutely insane, and particularly good for Ret Paladin. So again, let me just read that again. You cast 3 Holy Power generators. You get Dawn, and then you consume Dawn by casting a Holy Power spender, and that gives you Dusk, which gives you 5% less damage taken. Now, that's the baseline ability that has completely changed. Here's the new buff to it down below. You can either take Seal of Order like you did before, which just simply says Blessing of Dawn increases the damage of your next Holy Power spending ability by an additional 10%, and then Dusk increases your armor by 10% more, which again stacks with Sanctified Plates and would stack with Faith's armor. So a ridiculous amount of armor now if you wanted to go that route. Or there's a new choice note here called Fading Light. The only change is to the Dusk side of things. Blessing of Dusk causes your Holy Power generating abilities to also grant an Absorb Shield for 20% of the damage or healing dealt. This is actually kind of crazy when you think about Prot Paladin in particular. So, let me just show you the buff that's rolling here. So, I'm going to, again, this has to do with Holy Power generating abilities, right? So, here we go. I'm just going to pop wings and do this and do this. And now you can see generator. Now I'm into Dawn. Now I'm going to press this. Now I'm into Dusk. So now my generating abilities give me a shield while I'm in Dusk. There's the shield right there. Absorbs 14,000 damage. It gets up to 16,000 damage pretty quickly, actually. So that was kind of cool. So you can see that for Ret Paladin in particular, this extra little shield that you're getting, there's 7,000 there. I can't generate right now anything, but you can see if I press Blade of Justice, it's going to generate a little bit more there. This is an interesting shield that's getting generated for me, in my opinion. I think that it's particularly good for for prop Paladin, of course. It's just literally more defensive throughput that you get to use. But for Rep Paladin, this gives you even more survivability. Rep Paladin has gotten some major buffs on their own spec side of things. But on the class side of things, it's just really cool to see 5% less damage taken. And now these shields that you're getting from the Fading Light passive. On top of that, you're getting healing from Divine Storm. And you're getting healing from Crusader's Reprieve, which I think is super cool. So all in all, this Dawn of Dusk is now much, much easier to trigger. It was so tilting, I think, to have to build all the way up to 5 holy power just to get Dawn rolling, and then you had to get all the way down to 0. Getting down to 0 wasn't difficult, but getting all the way up to 5 holy power on a single target fight in particular was kind of difficult. On an AoE fight, you literally just press Divine Toll, and you've immediately had Dawn rolling, so like it wasn't hard. But on a single target boss fight, getting all the way up to 5 holy power, having to bank up to 5 holy power was just like a really frustrating gameplay style, in my opinion. And it just wasn't fun to play at all. So I'm really glad they made this change. It's really easy to cast 3 holy power generators. Very easy to do that. You know, you press Crusader Strike, Judgment, Blade of Justice, or Blade of Justice, Judgment, Judgment, whatever you want to do. It's not that hard to do anymore. So this is much easier to build up, and I think it's going to be a lot more fun to play around with. So those are all of the major changes that are coming through. Again, defensive bonuses now from Fading Light, giving you shields, and Dawn of Dusk giving you 5% DR. We've got healing from Lightforge Blessing, which again, it's kind of bugged. We're going to see how that works out. Healing from Crusader's Resolve. Very, very cool. Major, major changes for Avenging Wrath, particularly for Rep Paladin. Having it be a 1-minute cooldown now is really cool. Again, remember, Prot and Holy is still a 2-minute base cooldown. Huge defense from Sanctified Plates. 20% more armor, 10% stamina, 10% avoidance. Really busted, in my opinion. Some other quality of life here. Judgment, getting the cooldown down by 1 second is pretty cool. And then, of course, the big change here coming through, which is going to be that Divine Toll is now on the class side, which frees up some points for us to spend on the spec side. And I think that that's going to be really exciting. So those are the major class changes for Paladin coming into patch 10.0.7. This is Blizzard's really big swing of the bat. They're trying to rework this thing in a major way, and it's looking really good. Now, my following videos are going to be, I'm going to do a big video on Rep Paladin, don't worry about that, and Prot and Holy. I'll probably do Prot and Holy in one video, because it's not, it doesn't warrant a video for each of them, but the Rep Paladin video absolutely warrants a video just to talk about. So I'll talk about that in a future video. But let me know what you guys think about the class side of things, particularly Divine Toll being here, and Dawn and Dusk being changed. Let me know what you guys think about these big changes here. I would love to hear from you in the comments down below. Thank you so much for watching. I love you guys. I'll see you in the next one.